Hey everybody, it's Jeremy back for day 2 of my 30-day YouTube challenge, and today I'm going to talk about something a little bit different. As I mentioned yesterday, I am a big fan of podcasts and a big fan of Tim Ferriss's podcast, and about a month and a half or 2 months ago he had someone on that he interviewed named Coach Sommer, and he is a gymnastics coach. He's coached national champions, he's coached U.S. Olympic athletes, and he's created an exercise course called Gymnastic Bodies. You can find out about it at gymnasticbodies.com. And he, kind of weird I guess, but not your typical normal exercise or what you think of when you think of exercising, but he is taking his experience as a gymnastics coach and turned it into an exercise routine. And with the Olympics coming up, we're going to be seeing lots of people on TV and stuff doing gymnastics, and if you look at all the guys and all the girls, they're all extremely strong, extremely fit, and in good shape, and they're extremely flexible as well. And one of the things that he realized is most adults are very inflexible. You look at a kid and he can squat all the way down to the floor with no issues, but you look at an adult and they can't move. They can't bend over. It hurts to bend over and pick things up or whatever. So I'm a software architect, and what that means is I sit at a desk the majority of the day. I'm in a lot of meetings all day long, and just sitting, which study after study has shown is terrible for your health. And I don't have a lot of flexibility or a lot of mobility, and a lot of times when I try to start exercising, I end up getting hurt, get shin splints, or I end up pulling a muscle, or whatever it may be. And in general, I'm just very stiff and very difficult to move. And one of the things they talked about that they see just huge benefits from their customers is increased mobility, increased flexibility, and also a lot further down the line, a lot of increased strength, a lot of core strength, and arm strength, biceps, and everything else. So I thought about it for a while. I went into the website, which is, like I said, gymnasticbodies.com, and I looked at it, but it's a pretty expensive program. That's by far my biggest complaint. Their courses are very expensive, and there's a lot of them. A lot of different courses out there, so it's not like you buy one course and you're done. You buy a course and you progress through that, you move at your own pace, and then you buy a next course and a next course, and they're, like I said, they're pretty expensive. So I thought about it for a long time, but I finally decided that it was something I wanted to do. The strength isn't so much my main goal. Like I said, my main goal is the increased mobility and flexibility. I have really, really poor ankle mobility, and also really tight hips, so poor hip mobility as well. So those are my two biggest areas that I was concerned with, and just general flexibility. My hamstrings are really tight and all that sort of stuff. So finally I decided to go ahead and do it. I bought the fundamentals course and the foundation course. The fundamentals is like a 28-day course, which really focuses on, so far at least, a lot on your flexibility, your mobility, just different exercises to kind of get you loosened up. And the foundation starts working into, this is where you begin, after you're done with the fundamentals, then you go into the foundation, and that's where you start with what I'm assuming to be some of the most very basic gymnastic moves. So right now, I'm about 2 weeks into the program. I'm on day 11, and the way it works, it's a completely online program. You sign up, you get access to a course, and you log in, and when you log in for that day, you get the workout for that day. As long as you log in that day, the next day you can access the next program, but you can't skip ahead. So if you don't log in on Monday, when you go Tuesday, you don't get 2 days courses, you just get the course that you were supposed to do on Monday. So one of my biggest problems I've had is I haven't been very consistent. Instead of doing it 5, 6, 7 days a week, I've only been doing it about 2 or 3 days a week. So I've got nobody to blame but myself, but that's all right. So what I'm going to do is kind of walk you through the exercises that have been taught so far up to this point, I'm not trying to coach anybody at all, because I would be an awful coach and I'm not qualified at all. But it's more, I guess, for my own benefit. I'm going to video this and see how I progress through these movements, because I definitely can't do them the way they're demonstrated on the videos. So the first movement they call is the, I'm just going to jump into the movements right now and tell you about them and try to do them myself. So the first video that they do is called the ape, and they've got all these funny names for all the different movements, but it's kind of nice because it helps you remember them, and they're pretty descriptive as far as what they're actually doing. So the first movement is called the ape, and you'll see why. The goal is you want to step your feet out, point your toes out, squat down into a squat position. You want to get as low as you can, put your hands on the ground so you're kind of looking like a gorilla, and you just walk. You want to get your hips as low as possible, which I'm not very good at all, and you just walk like a gorilla. And so I'll go back and forth down the room and just start to loosen up my hips and my ankles, which is where I feel this the most. So the next position is called the crab, and as kids we've probably all done crab walks, and that's basically exactly what this is. You want to keep your knees over your ankles, you want to keep your back straight, and you want to keep your shoulders over your hands, and you want your hips as high as possible. So again, I'm just going to start at one end of the room and walk to the other side and turn around and go back. This, you feel it a lot in your shoulders and also in your abs, just trying to keep your hips elevated. So the next thing they did was go over some very basic gymnastics positions, I guess. There were 4 that they talked about. The first one, I can't remember what the correct term is, but I'll just call it prone. You lay on your back with your hands over your head and you're flat. The next position they call pike, and you're sitting straight up with your back as straight as possible and your legs straight forward. The next one is straddle, which is the same as pike, but you keep your legs spread, and again you want to make sure that your back is as straight as possible, not rounding your back. And then the next one is tuck, where you just tuck your knees up, lift your feet off the floor, and again try to keep your back as straight as possible. So after that, the next ones they have is called the frog and the stiff bear. The frog is pretty much like the ape. I have a real hard time doing the frog personally. About 2 months ago or so I fell and twisted my knee really bad, and it's still kind of hurting me on the inside. So because of that, the frog kind of causes a lot of pain in my knee, but I'll try to demonstrate it. And you get down started almost exactly like you did with the ape, but instead of moving one leg at a time, you kind of put your hands forward and you hop. And again, you're supposed to keep your hips as low as possible, and that's pretty much it. The next one is called the stiff bear. And you start and you just bend over, put your hands on the ground. You want to keep your heels on the ground, and you want to keep your legs straight, and you just walk and you look like a stiff bear. So I'm going to turn around and go back, do the same thing in the other direction. All right. So the next one is, I don't know the names for it, but you're basically working on stretching your torso and turning and twisting. So you stand about 8 inches or so away from the wall, put your hands out, you turn and twist, and hold it. So you're going to do one side, and you're supposed to keep your hips as far as facing forward as much as possible, but I don't have the flexibility to do that, so I just do what I can do. Then you're going to turn and go the other direction. You know, one of the things that's really cool about the gymnastics body course that I like anyways is he takes very complex movements and breaks them down into very, very small progressions. So, you know, with if anybody's done you know, CrossFit, you've seen people do muscle ups where you basically grab a bar or a ring and you start by doing a pull up and then you progress in and raise yourself up above the bar. To me, it seems like an extremely complicated movement. I wouldn't even know where to begin with that, but from the videos I've seen, you know, the gymnastics body courses will break that down into, you know, 40 different progressions where you start at 1, master it, and then go to 2, then to 3, then to 4, etc. So I'm excited about getting into those more advanced videos. Honestly, the foundations, it's good because it's stretching and flexibility, but it's a little bit boring, just to be honest. So the next one is starting to get into a little bit of core strengthening. You lay on your back and you bring your knees up and you stretch your arms out, and the goal is to keep the shoulders flat on the ground. So I'm going to rotate my hips to the left and very slowly until they're all the way down on the ground, and the goal is to keep your right shoulder firmly on the ground. And you want to hold that stretch for a little while, and then you're going to bring it back up slowly, and you're going to rotate to the opposite side. And this time you're going to focus on keeping your left shoulder all the way on the ground. And as you're raising and lowering it, you're going to feel the, you're going to feel it in your obliques, the stretching and the strength of raising and lowering your legs. So you would normally do this back and forth several times, but I'm just going to do it once just to demonstrate it. Then the next one, they call it the hollow, and this is where you start to really start getting into the core strengthening exercises. You will lay with your hands over your head, and then you will just raise your hands up into the air, raise your feet off the ground. You want your low back to be completely flat against the ground, and you hold it for however long you can. Then the next one, the last one, I'm going to show where I'm at up to this point, and I've probably forgotten a few exercises, but that's all right, is what they call the arch. You roll over on the opposite side, put your hands by your head, and you raise up in an arch position, strengthening your lower back. And just like with the hollow, you're going to hold this for as long as you can. So as I said, I'm on day 11 right now. It's probably taken me about 3.5 weeks to get here because I haven't done it every day. But so far what I've noticed, the movements are getting easier in the ape and things like that. I'm able to get my hips lower. They're still not as low as they should be, but it's easier to do. And also after I complete the going through all the movements, I just feel a lot more looser, a lot more limber, just feel better. Just kind of getting the stretching in all the areas that I'm tight. So tell me what you think about this. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you loved it, if you hate it, comment on YouTube. Leave a question below. I'll do my best to answer it. By no means an expert in this, but just taking you along the journey with me. So I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And if you have something that you would like me to do a video on, let me know. Thanks a lot.